Hello and welcome to another installment of Airsoft Reports. Today we're going to be doing a quality review on the new TSD SD 45. Now we're going to take a look at the TSD SD 45's fit and finish. Overall, it has a matte, sort of rubbery finish, which in general seems to hold up to wear pretty well. It looks good, feels good. Overall, it's around a little better than average. Now let's take a look at the rubber butt plate. Now, as we mentioned, it is rubber and it is comfortable, so for long prone shooting it won't dig into your shoulder. And next we're going to show you the removable cheek rest. Now this cheek rest is it's a pretty unique feature on airsoft guns with folding stocks. It would allow you to pop this off by removing the two Phillips head screws and then put in place a replacement that might be taller, which would give you a more comfortable shooting stance with this gun. Unique, we haven't seen this on any other folding stock model that we've tested so far. Next, let's take a look at the folding stock assembly itself. Now the folding stock on the SD45 is almost identical to the locking mechanism found on the G36C. It's a simple button you just push down and that then releases the stock. We're going to show you how it attaches to the side of the gun. Much like the G36C, there is a knob on the side of the frame that simply clicks in and you're in business. It's very sturdy, solid, it's not going anywhere. It's not even going to shake. Of course, taking it back and putting it into the fully extended mode is simple. You pull just ever so gently up, back in place, the button locks in, and you have a very solid stock. Now once you've got the stock folded against the frame, you can access the battery compartment. You simply open the trap door and you'll have direct access to the stick style battery. We'll show you how it pulls out too. Now the SD45 is equipped with a stick style battery, and although we like most of the features on this gun, the battery compartment's pretty tight and getting the connector in there can be a problem sometimes. It's not been uncommon for us to actually have to use a pair of pliers to remove the connector from the compartment, so just be aware of that. Now the removal of the battery is fairly straightforward, similar to the M14 in that you want to disconnect the wires before removal of the actual battery itself, and then you just pull and the entire stick battery comes out. It is an 1150 milliamp battery, so it doesn't have the greatest capacity as far as airsoft batteries go, but it does the trick. You'll probably want to have an extra one on hand though. Now putting it back in is about as simple as it was to get it out. Just push it back. Now there is a ridge on the battery which we found is designed to go down. So it goes all the way in there, then you want to make your connection, and then of course you're going to have to cram all the wires and connectors back in there. Be careful not to bend something so much that it breaks. It's most vulnerable at the connectors. Push it back and you're back in business. Open your stock up if you want, and voila, it's all tucked away nice and neat. Now the Picatinny rail on the top is optimal for mounting almost whatever type of optic you'd prefer, whether it be a red dot sight or if you decide to invest in a scope or high-vis ACOG style. Pretty much anything will secure here easily and quite simply. Now the rear sight kind of perplexed us. We like it on the whole, and generally we don't ever have to adjust it, but the adjustment tools required to change your elevation then and your windage are separate, which is strange. You use a Phillips head to adjust your windage, whereas you're going to be using the supplied Allen wrench to adjust your elevation. Now why they decided to take this approach is beyond us, but if you find you need to make those types of adjustments in the field, be sure and bring those two tools with you. They give them to you, but they're tiny, so they can be lost easily. Now the SD45 comes equipped with two different styles of rear sight. You have the peep style aperture and you have the blade, which you know, we actually use less of. However, we have found in certain circumstances it's actually a little easier to acquire the target using the blade than the peep. Those of you who prefer the HK style peep, of course, will probably stay with that, and generally that is the aperture we choose the most to use. Now the SD45 is equipped with a standard HK style selector switch. It is metal, and it actually has a pretty good positive lock-in at each of its 3 positions. You'll hear a positive click and feel it as well, and it seems to work pretty well. Our only complaint was that we did occasionally have an issue with the safety failing to engage. So, you know, use your common sense, and of course use the gun as safely as possible. Never point it, you know, towards anything you're not planning on actually firing at. Overall, though, it's a pretty decent setup, and in some cases better than much more expensive offerings. Now the gun is outfitted with a metal trigger and a plastic trigger guard and handle assembly. Fairly straightforward, and it actually does have a pretty good feedback. What we just demonstrated, however, is an example of what we were talking about with the safety. It is in the safe position, as you can see, but unfortunately it's firing. So again, you know, use that common sense, because the best safety is in your head. We'll move on now to the magazine well and show you what that looks like. Now the magazine well is also fairly straightforward. The most unique feature about this gun, though, is its actual magazine. The UMP style magazine is about as long as an MP5 magazine if you were to straighten it out, but it's significantly thicker, which allows a significantly larger capacity. We found that in this mag we could fit about 380 to 400 BBs in it, and of course that's almost twice the capacity of a standard MP5 mag. Now, the downside is that because it is basically a square, the BBs have a tendency to get stuck because of the way they're being stored. So a couple taps tends to free the jam with no problem. If you spray a little squirt of silicone lube in there too, we found that really clears the problem right up. No big deal all in all. But those of you who enjoy putting your magazines into tactical vests might have some difficulty finding a vest that will fit the magazine, as it is unique in its shape and size. You can see it's significantly wider than most of the MP5 mags on the market. Now the actual ejection port itself is metal. The frame surrounding it is plastic. It's, you know, opened quite simply. Most airsoft guns, you simply pull back the charging handle and there it is. When you pull back the charging handle, the ejection port cover is pulled back to expose the hop-up, which is actually one of the best on the market. It's precise and accurate and easy to adjust, especially because the charging handle is lockable. So you don't have to futz with holding the charging handle with one hand while you're trying to adjust the hop-up with the other.